Hello humans, welcome or welcome back to the Carlin's Colorful Creations channel. If you're new to my channel, we shape and polish gemstones using a Dremel. If that's something that interests you, please consider subscribing. Today we're going to be working on this nice flashy piece of Moonstone. It's got some good blues going on, a little bit of green, and even some orange on the corner there. Gotta love that. When we weigh it out, the starting weight of the stone is 11.07 carats, and when we measure it, it is 14 millimeters tall, about 10 millimeters wide, and the height of the stone is about 7 millimeters. So it's a pretty big stone, all things considered, when you think about it. When we shine a flashlight through it, it's pretty clean. You got those natural fractures that you normally get with Moonstone, but it should be a pretty straightforward cut. So if you want to see how this stone is shaped and polished into a gem, keep on watching. So starting out here, I was hoping to get this into a bit of an ovular shape, so I marked on the back the kind of oval that I wanted to try to get. Now, I could have went for more of a square shape if I felt like it, but I really enjoy a good oval, and since this is actually my very first time working on Moonstone, I thought it would be fun to go with what I normally go with, and maybe next time we can go for more of like a flat face or a square. You never know where life's gonna bring you. So, talking about Moonstone, the hardness of Moonstone is a 6 to a 6.5, whereas opal is a 5.5 to a 6.5. So Moonstone is actually the same hardness as lapidary. Now, working on it on the Dremel, you can kind of tell that it is rather soft stone, but it does feel, a bit harder than my Ethiopian opal does. I feel like when I work on Ethiopian opal, it just whizzes by really fast. And this Moonstone, you could definitely tell that it feels harder even than a Australian opal. So that's something to keep in mind if you're going to be working on Moonstone yourself at home with a Dremel. Iridescent Moonstone was once called Adularia, a name that originated with a city in Switzerland, Mount Adular, which is now St. Gotthard, and that is one of the first sources where quality Moonstone was found. Ancient mythology says that if you hold a moonstone in your mouth during a full moon, that you'll see the future. And some believed back in the day in ancient Roman times that Moonstone was created from solidified beams of moonlight. We now know all of these superstitions to just be superstitions created by the ancients to explain this sheer beauty that they're seeing, and you can't really blame them. Nowadays, we classify Moonstone as a sodium-potassium aluminum silicate from this feldspar family. It's also known to have a crystalline structure, a triclinic crystalline structure, and the crystal structure of Moonstone is characterized by thin parallel layers of albite that gives it its characteristic audulescence. And audulescence is just a fancy word for the way that Moonstone shines, just like how with Sunstone you'll call it Schiller, but with opal we just call it iridescence. Now, I'm no expert in any kind of stone, nor am I a gemologist, and I probably even pronounced a few of those words wrong. I'm just somebody who's here, shaping stones on my channel for you guys, and I thought it'd be fun to share some fun facts for once. But, moving forward, I started shaping my stone by cutting off the sharp edges of the stone, and I was kind of left with this natural sort of doming going on. So I took my Dremel and I ran the stone around the edges. Once it was shaped to a nice oval, I ran it from the edges of the stone in towards the middle and cut off the sharp edges of where I wanted the dome to be. Now once I have the dome going, you can see that I'm working in circular motions around the edges of the dome to really get a smooth transition. Now it's important when you're working with diamond bits and with your Nova points to be constantly dipping on water, and also throughout each point you should dry off your stone and inspect it for scratches. Each bit is going to give you a different set of scratches, and you should be able to tell the scratches from the previous bit versus the scratches on the bit that you're working on. But if you do have scratches from the previous bits, as long as they're not too deep, you should be able to get them out with a little bit of extra elbow grease with your polishing paste or your cerium oxide or whatever you're going to be working with, and it will just take a little extra time. So this is what the stone looked like after I'm done with my Nova points, and you can see that I've got a pretty good shape going here. I got a good dome going. There's a little bit of a chip coming out the back, but that's no big deal to me. When I weigh it out at this point, it is 6.28 carats. And moving on to my polishing pastes, I use wax-based polishing pastes, and these are felt tips as well. Now you can just go in with a finer grit of Nova points. That is very common, and that's what a lot of people will do. I like my polishing pastes because I feel like it gives me more control. But when you're working with polishing paste, as you are working with your Nova points as well, it's important to work in circular motions. So I will start by working on the entire face of the Moonstone, and then I'll go around the edges of the dome, and then I'll hit the sides, and then I will polish out the back. Sometimes I'll do that the other way around, where I start with the back and then I go in towards the dome. Now, even with a big stone like this, you can go in with Dopping. Now, I have not worked on Moonstone before, so I really wanted to be careful to not mess up the back of the stone, because I have had in the past more brittle stones that have had the backs of them chip because of the super glue that I use. There's also a wax that you can use for Dopping if your stone that you're working with is the kind of stone that can handle a bit of heat. Like Australian opal can handle a little bit of heat, whereas Ethiopian opal will just totally craze if you try to use heat on it, unless it's a really high quality piece or you really know what you're doing. Now again, throughout the polishing paste, I'm wiping it off on my pants or cloth that I have nearby, and I am checking for scratches. Once I'm at the 2.5 micron, I'm really taking my time on these polishing pastes. So the first couple of pastes, I'm not taking nearly as much time as I am here, where I will really hammer down on these felt tips, and you can see the divot on this 2.5 micron paste tip that I'm working on. You can really see that I'm always working on that one part because there's a divot in it, and that is because I do go harder on these last couple of grits of it. And this is because sometimes I want to skip a grit, and if you really go hard on certain grits, you can forfeit like the next grit. So here I've done the 1 micron, and sometimes I'll skip the 1.5 micron and go straight to the 0.5 micron and then the 2.5 micron. And it's all about the individual stone and the individual who is working on the stone and how patient you are. Now, I have been known to get a little impatient, and that's totally normal. But also, I think everybody has had this happen, where I'll drop the stone on these polishing pastes because it gets so gosh darn slippery. So that's something to keep in mind, and that's another reason to dop. When you're working on a stone this large, there's really not much of a big chance of losing the stone when you do drop it, but I still did drop this stone several times. And a little trick that I like to use is I will tuck the flat back of the stone underneath my nail, and I will try to use the way that the stone is pushing, or the way the Dremel is pushing the stone to my favor, and kind of have my hand there, And with smaller stones, you can kind of get it to stick to your finger a little bit with that energy, and that's something that I like to do. Another thing is, if you do end up dropping your stone, I find that it really helps to keep calm about it and just, look for it calmly. If you get really pissed off and frustrated when you're looking for a stone, you're not going to be as likely to find it. But I do cast sheets over everything around me in my house that, my stone can fall in or on, so that I have like kind of a net where I can look, and if I don't hear it hit my wood floor, I know that it fell on one of those sheets. Alright guys, and here are the final results, and I wasn't quite able to save that piece of gold that was going on in the corner, but when we weigh it out, the final weight of the stone is 6.32 carats, so this is what the stone looked like originally. You could see that orange gold I was talking about. This is 11.07 carats, and we ended up losing about 4.75 carats in the long run, but I'm still very happy with these results. I love the natural fractures of it. The blue just shines super brilliantly. I'm very happy with the dome. Yes, I have that little chip out of the back, but this is my first time working on Moonstone, and I know I always say this, but I could not be more pleased with this one. I'm so pleased, in fact, that I decided to set it, and the way that I set stones is I'll buy a pre-made setting, and I will just gently clasp in the edges around it. And this is what it looks like when it's set, and I feel like it fit this setting really perfectly. This is a 14 by 10 setting, so I was able to save a lot of the area of the stone, and I feel like a lot of it was lost in the doming. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, I would appreciate it if you would like the video. If you give it a good thumbs up, that really helps the algorithm promote my videos to other people who might like it. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. I know 70% of you aren't subscribed. If you have anything to say about this video, I would appreciate if you leave a comment. I really enjoy comments, and I like talking to you guys. Share this video with a friend, even if you only have one friend that might be interested in this sort of video. It would mean a great lot to me if you did share it. And turn on notifications if you don't already, and I'll see you guys next time I make a video. Later.